Okay, I'm putting decals on the Space Shuttle, so I'm 90% done with the paint. Actually, I'm done with paint other than clear coats and weathering. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about, and I'm going to zoom in on the Space Shuttle while I do this, so you guys can see her a little bit better. Okay, along here, in here, there are some tiles. And I'm going to take a black pen and mark those tiles up. But I'm going to do the decals first and put a sealer coat on for the decals first. I could do that with an oil wash. I've done that on other models, but I think a black pen will look better. Okay? You can see I've got the gray stripes along the edges of the shuttle cleaned up the way they should be. Let's focus. There we go. Okay. Speaking of nose, you can see I got the gray spot around the nose done correctly. You can also see that there's some white fogging along here. I did that on purpose. She's going to get a little burned up as she comes in the atmosphere. Okay. And I'm going to hit that with a kind of yellowish orange oil wash. And that'll tone that down to where it looks a little bit better. The underside, every photo I look at of the underside shows her not flat black. So what I did is I took the airbrush, pulled it pretty far away from the model, and just lightly misted it. You can still see that seam right there. I did not do a great job on that seam right there. But, again, this is going to be bolted to the 747, and you're not going to see that. I'd bring it in and show you about what it would look like with the 747, but the 747 has paint drying on it right now. So I can't do that. Alright? And, let's talk about the tail. Tail on this side doesn't look too bad. Tail on this side is the worst of the two. Now, what happened here is, there we go. I was trying to clean the paint up along the top of this thing, and I got a little crazy, got a Q-tip with some alcohol. Do not take alcohol to Tamiya paints unless you want to strip them. If I were to take this Space Shuttle model, put it in a bucket of alcohol, I could strip all the paint off of it within 5 minutes. Now that's a good thing, because I know if I completely screw up painting a model, a little bit of time and some alcohol, and there won't be any more paint on that model. Okay, and that paint was cured up for 4 or 5 days when I did it. Another spot I'm not too happy with is along here. I got a little thick in a couple of spots, but I'm not going to try to clean that up. I'm going to leave that the way it is, because there are black stripes along there. But all in all, I am not too upset with how this has turned out. I think she's turned out okay. And I am trying a different tape-up technique on the 747. We'll discuss that in another segment. So what we're going to do right now, if I take this video and zoom it back out the other way, is I'm going to put some decals on her. She doesn't get many decals. From looking at this thing, I think there's like 4 or 5 decals she gets total. So let me get the instructions out, let me get the decals laid out, cut out, and I'm going to show you my decal technique. For decal work, a couple of things I usually do. I like to have some tweezers around. So let me get out my favorite pair of tweezers for this. Okay. I also like to have a knife around. So I have my handy X-Acto knife here. I've had this one since I was like 12. Okay, and it's got a fresh blade in it, but that's not necessarily necessary. I got my micro set and my micro saw. Okay. One thing to watch is that you get those two solutions in the right order. You get them in the wrong order, you're going to mess up some decals. I'm speaking from experience here. It's blue than red, okay? It's blue than red. Now, blue cleans up the model, cleans the surface, preps the surface for the decal. So you paint this on the surface. Red softens the decal and has it kind of gives it that settled in look. Now, there's not a lot of panel lines on this model, so putting these decals in here, this isn't going to do a whole lot. I'm still going to use it though. Alright, now I'm going to take my decal, which since this is a small model, most of these decals are small. I dunk it in water, and then I set it on the side of my bowl to sit. Okay? And I'm doing the same thing with my next decal. One of the happy things about the Space Shuttle is it does not have very many decals. Now, I only work with 2 at a time. I don't put more decals on, in the water than that. I'll take those 2 decals. When they're done, I'm going to put them on the shuttle. Simple enough. Okay? So let's let that sit for a few seconds. Actually, while it's sitting, I can get out my microsol and my microset. Actually, I usually leave the lids on them. I've got cats, and they like to jump up and get on things. Now, what I have are 2 paintbrushes, one for each solution. I don't mix those 2 solutions with my paintbrushes. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but that's just what I do. And I've spilled this stuff before. It does not smell too fun in the house. So I'm taking this, and I'm going to paint it on here where this decal goes. I know it goes right here on this shuttle model. Okay. Putting the lid back on this in case I knock it over. Hopefully this decal is set up enough now that it's loosened on the paper. We'll find out. Yes, it has. Now I like to slide it a little bit. I'll zoom in so we can see this a little bit. I like to slide the decal on the paper a little bit, so the edge of it is hanging off the edge of the decal paper just a teeny bit. Okay? I know we can't see that. And then I take and I align it with my model. Alright. And then I pull the backing paper out from under it. Now, if I need to, I can move it around, and I don't have this aligned right. There's more than one way to move it around. I can move it around with my set of tweezers. Like so. Okay. Now that is set in the position I want it in. So what I'm going to do next is take my microsol and just dab a teeny bit of that on there. Okay? And I'm done. That's all there was to it. Pretty simple to put that decal on there. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and put all these decals on off camera, because it's just boring for you guys to watch that. When I'm done with that, I'll be back and show you the decals, and then we'll be ready for a clear coat. So I'll be back in a bit. I've got all the decals on the model. Okay, so let's zoom in so you guys can see what happened, and I can discuss the one problem I had. You can see the decals there. Now, after talking to some people at Scale Model Addict Forum, one person suggested that I name this shuttle Discovery, because that would be the last space shuttle to fly, period, is going to be Discovery. Okay? Now, so we named her Discovery. Now, there's a couple of things here. Marking wise, on a lot of the space shuttles, there's a NASA that runs right along here. Discovery doesn't have the NASA. Don't know why it doesn't. I looked at a lot of reference photos to make sure. Discovery does have the NASA here, though. Okay, it does have the NASA logo there. And as far as I know, it does have the little NASA logos here. That's where my problem was. That one NASA logo tore in half while I was positioning her. But I got her together. She's so dang tiny, unless you zoom in like a madman, you'd never see that anyhow. Okay, I've got her on that side. There's some decals along here. They're yellow, so they're kind of hard to see. I've got the red markings on the top in place. Okay, I used reference photos to get those in place correctly. Speaking of the top, I think you can notice the 2 windows on the top up here are not even. This, yeah, that's nice. That's molded in the kit. That's not me. Because what I did to clean them up at the last minute, because I saw some white paint in there, I got a micron pen out and marked them all up so they're all cleaned up nice and neat. Okay? So, what we're going to do next is we are going to give her a clear coat tomorrow. I'm going to let the decals dry up until tomorrow. Then I'll give her a clear coat tomorrow. Once she's clear coated, I'm going to get a micron pen out and I'm going to fix up those panel lines on the back of the shuttle tiles right here where we're fully zoomed in, right along here. Okay. By the way, just in case you're curious how good the zoom is on this video camera, that shuttle model is a good 2 foot away from the video camera, maybe 3, and we're getting in this close. Okay, and let's take the camera back. Now, one last thing I forgot to mention about decals. The bowl I'm using. Okay, I went to the dollar store and bought this bowl specifically for decal work. It has a rim around the edge, so I can dunk the decal, one of these pieces of paper, dunk it in there, and then I can set the piece of paper on the rim of the bowl to sit and let the water soak into the decal without the water floating in the bowl. Okay, one of them got away from me and started floating in the bowl, and what happens there is the decal separates from the paper, and then you have to fish that out with a knife or a set of tweezers, or what I did is I fished it out with backing paper from decals because it was better than my knife. The knife had some sort of magic repel to it and kept the decal away from the knife. And it was a long, thin decal. It was one of the Discovery decals, and I wanted to keep it intact and not wrapped around the knife blade, so I used a piece of decal paper to fish it out with. But anyhow, that's it on decals. And again, when I come back, she will be clear coated and I will start weathering her. Hope you enjoyed.